Please join me in welcoming Dr. Gene James.
I have such a variety of things I've spoken on in the past. They mentioned ministry. I'm a minister, fitness, comedy. So whenever someone wants to book me for anything, they kind of say, okay, we don't really want the minister tonight. It's like, hallelujah. So I think you're going to be inspired tonight. I have wonderful stories I want to share with you about my background and where I've come from. Well, I grew up in the South Phoenix. And from there, I was born in Natchez, Mississippi, a little small town in Mississippi. And my family moved from there to the Mississippi Delta, a little small town called Shaw, Mississippi, up around Indianola, all those places. So I knew I had some country people here. That's why I mentioned that. In the 60s, a wonderful time to grow up. And one of the things I really looked forward to when I was in the South was getting out of the South. Getting out. I think about that flashback from Arnold Schwarzenegger, get out. I wanted to get out. But I found out that the longer I'm away from there, the more I embrace the defining moments that really made me, the things that I really look back on and I can relearn and redefine myself by going back to certain events in the South. And I'm grateful for many of the adversities and challenges, and as well as the challenges and changes that occurred in my life during that time. Alvin Toffler said that the illiterate of the 21st century are not the ones who cannot read and write, but the ones who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. As I look back on my life, 1966 was a defining year. I was going into the 5th grade, new school. My mother set us down. She says, okay, next year, you're going to change schools. Now, Brown versus Board of Education has just passed, and it said that segregation in public schools were unconstitutional. So we were going to integrate schools. My mother said, you're going to go next year to the white school. And I was like, Mom, that's going to be great. Now, I'm about 10 years old. Well, I have white friends. I go to their house. They'll come to my house, and we'll just enjoy. This is going to be wonderful. They can play with my toys. My mother just smiled. First day of school, I came home. I said, Mama, I don't want to go back to the white school. She said, what happened? I said, they won't play with me. Nobody talked to me. They wouldn't even sit close to me. Now here, today, parents would change schools. How dare you do this to my baby? And they'll send emails off and they'll sue. But my mother just says, okay, now get back out there tomorrow. And every day it was the same thing. There was bullying. There was name calling, saying, we don't want you here. And that was the teachers. And one day, it all changed. One day, everything changed. And that's one of the things I want to share with you, this diversity of inclusion, how I went from the back of the class to the head of the class, from being unknown to becoming well-known. One day, things changed in my life. We had an event, a little meeting in our art class, about 30 students in our class. I was the only black student. I think we were colored at the time. I was the only colored student in our classroom. And we had to put together a project, just individual projects. We had the same supplies, art supplies, and do whatever you want for Christmas, anything Christmassy. And they were going to judge those and award the top three places at the end of the class. Well, I kind of put together something, I thought, nothing special. And at the end, we passed them over to the senior students. They had a couple seniors to come in and grade those and award the top 3. Well, they awarded the 3rd place, and people stood up and applauded, and the 3rd place winner applauded and stood up. 2nd place stood up, and everybody applauded. And then the 1st place, they awarded, and everybody was cheering for the 1st place, and I was sitting there because that was mine. And I was looking real constipated. Teacher's like, what are you doing? Who is it? Come on, don't be shy. And everybody was applauding. And I stood up and then went like, it stopped. You could have heard a pin fall. And I recognized something. That award didn't go to race, or color, gender, or ethnicity. It went to the most excellent, the best. And I got hold of that excellence And this is the principle that I learned that really leads me and guides me in my life now, my personal life, my marriage, my relationships, is that excellence. And excellence always rises to the top and takes with it whoever is willing to possess it. And I strive to do excellence from that point forward. I went home, I said, Mom, you wouldn't believe it. Mama, I love the white school. She said, what happened today? I said, Mama, they had these written, and I made this award. Then they clapped for the third place, they clapped for the second place, and they got to the first place, and then I got word, and then they stopped clapping. I said, it's too late now, Jack? Too late? I was first place. And my mother said, now I want you to do that with everything. Everything that you do, I want you to do it with excellence. And I started to study really hard, and my grades began to excel. And every grade, every class that I was in, I was always within the top 3 of the grades. And many times I was the highest score. And what happened when it began to transcend this barrier between people? My work became the standard in every class. And whenever there was something done in the art class, it was always Gene's work that stood out. I mean, no matter how simple it was, they say, now here's what Gene did. Everybody would go, whoa, woo, they're high-fiving. It was like I had the best work, no matter how much it was. And it was defined by excellence. I started to do well in school. Then the other students came around me and they wanted me to help them with their assignments. So I had friends. And when it was time to take tests, and here's the interesting thing, I allowed some of them to cheat off of me when we took tests. So instead of having this space between me and other students, when there was test day, there was everybody crowded around me. And I'm like, Mo, give the brother some room here. You know, and now I was selecting who could sit next to me. No, you move. No, you can come and sit here. No, you move over here. And I had to teach them how to cheat. I said, now look, don't write down everything I say. Don't get exactly the same score I get. On one essay question, I wrote down, I don't know. And another student wrote, I don't know either. So we're both in the principal's office. Well, I didn't know he was cheating. My brother was in a grade before me, and he had a different experience. Rather than living on his past, he still lives in his past. Rather than gaining the knowledge and information that I had and excelling, he still to this day harbors resentment and hatred. And he still looks back at that as being the darkest days of his life. The same experiences. One rose above. One remained in the storm. You look at these screens and the image that you see on the screen are not really on the screen. The image that you see is in the projector. And if you don't like the image, you can change screens. You can take your projector someplace else and you can go another place because you don't like the projector in this room. And you can move across town. You can move to another state. But as soon as you turn on your projector, you're going to see the same image. And that's what we do. My brother and others who's living in their past are still projecting the image of people and situations and circumstances that has happened in their lives. We're defined in our thinking by a few things. By, number one, our environment. Secondly, by our exposure and our experiences. And how we think about those things define who we are. As a person thinks in his heart, so is he. And we're not aware that we project onto people the image that we may not want to see in ourselves. There's a saying, there's something about you that I don't like about me. We can project an image upon someone and we won't like that person, but really what we're doing is we don't like the projection. We don't like what we're seeing in them. It's due to the projector. So if we can make a difference, if we can help someone, if we can ease some suffering, let us do it now because we will not pass this way again. The opportunity to make a difference, the opportunity to make something happen is before all of us. As you look around and you recognize that everyone is different, there's also our strength. Our unity comes when we understand that the diversity in what we have and what we share is what makes the world a better place. Celebrate who you are. Know that you make it possible. You give people permission to do more of the same. Don't back down. Step it up. How can you do more? How can you expand and enlarge your territory? How can you bring more people into what you do, inspiring them? Grab them if necessary, because when they become a part of what you do, it only enriches their life and makes their life the better. Make everybody feel special. Make everybody believe that they're the most important person that you know. That when you leave, it's like the salt that you place in food. No one ever compliments the salt. It's always the salt that makes the food better. And when people taste something that's missing salt, it's clear. Salt doesn't bring much attention to itself, but when it's missing, it's clear. You're the salt. And what you do makes the world taste good. Thank you.